Rahman was a quiet man who lived in a small town. He worked as a mechanic and spent most of his days repairing cars, bikes, and small machines. He was known in the town for being honest and hardworking. People trusted him because he always did his work carefully, and he never tried to cheat anyone. His workshop was small but tidy, filled with tools that he used every day. Even though he loved fixing machines, Rahman felt that something was missing in his life. The truth was, Rahman had been raising 2 children alone. His wife had passed away a few years ago, leaving him with Arav, a lively 10-year-old boy, and Nina, a gentle 8-year-old girl. Rahman loved them dearly, but life as a single parent was not easy. Every morning he woke up early to prepare breakfast, pack their school bags, and get them ready for school. Then he would go to his workshop fixing cars and helping people in need. Evenings were the hardest. When the children went to bed, the house became quiet, and Rahman felt the loneliness settle in like a shadow. One rainy morning, as he was repairing an old sedan in his workshop, Rahman noticed a woman struggling near the road. She was trying to push a bicycle through the muddy street, but the wheels kept getting stuck in the rain puddles. The woman had short hair, wore a simple uniform, and carried a small bag over her shoulder. She seemed tired but determined. Rahman felt an urge to help her. He walked out, called her politely, and said, "Excuse me, do you need some help with that bicycle?" The woman looked up and smiled. "Yes, please." "I cannot manage in this rain." Rahman quickly moved the bicycle under a small shelter near his workshop. He examined the wheels and the chain. The chain had slipped and the tire was a little bent. He worked carefully, oiling the chain and straightening the tire. While working, he glanced at the woman, noticing her gentle smile. "My name is Mira," she said, watching him fix the bike. "I work at the town clinic. I was rushing to see a patient, but this bicycle decided to stop me." Rahman smiled and said, "I am Rahman. I fix machines, bikes, cars, or anything that makes trouble. You can leave your bike here. I will fix it properly and you can take it later." Mira hesitated. "Are you sure it will be ready soon?" "I cannot wait too long. I have work," Rahman nodded. "Don't worry. It will be ready before you leave for the day. You just wait here under the shelter." As Rahman worked, he noticed that Mira seemed kind and patient. She did not complain about the rain or the mud. She talked softly about her work at the clinic. She cared for patients, young and old, with a smile on her face. Rahman listened quietly, feeling a warmth he had not felt in a long time. He enjoyed hearing her speak and seeing the small gestures of kindness she showed to everyone around her. After some time, the bicycle was ready. Rahman handed it to her. Mira smiled and tested the tires. "It feels like a new bike." "Thank you so much, Rahman. You saved my day." Rahman felt a small happiness inside. "I am glad I could help. Take care on the road. Rain can be tricky sometimes." Mira nodded and started riding away. Before she left, she turned and waved. Rahman waved back. He could not explain why, but he felt a strange excitement. It was as if a small light had entered the quiet corners of his life. Over the next few days, Mira occasionally came to the workshop for small repairs. Sometimes it was a small ambulance wheel, other times a scooter from the clinic. Each time, Rahman looked forward to her visits. He enjoyed listening to her stories about her patients and her day. He liked how she always noticed small things like how a child at the clinic was scared, or how a neighbor's garden had grown well. Rahman also noticed how his children reacted when Mira visited. Arav would ask questions about her work, and Nina would shyly smile when Mira talked to them. Rahman realized that even his children felt the warmth she brought. One evening, as he closed the workshop and prepared to go home, Rahman thought about Mira. He thought about how her presence made him feel lighter, how her smile made the difficult days easier. He wondered if it was possible for someone like her to become a part of his life, to bring happiness not just to him, but also to his children. For the first time in many months, Rahman felt hope. He felt that life could change, that perhaps one day his quiet house could be filled with laughter again. And in that small hope, he promised himself something quietly. He would find a way to build a home for someone kind. And maybe, just maybe, that someone could be Mira. Rahman did not know what the future held, but he knew one thing for sure. He was ready to try, and he would do everything to make his home a place of warmth and care. Days passed since Rahman had first met Mira. The rain had stopped, and the sun shone brightly over the small town. Yet Raman found himself thinking about her more often than he expected. He noticed that his work in the workshop felt lighter when he imagined seeing her again. Even the children seemed more cheerful, though Raman did not mention Mira's name much in front of them yet. One morning, while repairing a car engine, Raman saw Mira walking along the street carrying a medical bag. She looked tired but determined, and her hair was slightly damp from the morning dew. She smiled at him when she passed by, and Raman felt a warmth spread across his chest. He waved and she waved back, and something unspoken passed between them. Later that day, Mira came to the workshop. She had a small scooter that needed a repair. Raman welcomed her warmly and led her scooter inside. As he worked on the engine, they talked easily. Mira shared stories about her patients at the clinic. Some were children who had scraped knees. Some were elders who needed medicine and care. Raman listened attentively, impressed by her patience and dedication. "I sometimes wish I could spend more time with my own family," Mira said quietly, tightening a bolt on the scooter. "I enjoy my work, but it can be lonely too." Raman nodded slowly. "I understand," he replied. "I am raising 2 children alone. Life can be lonely, but it can also be full of small joys. I try to find happiness in little moments like seeing a child smile or fixing something that seemed broken beyond repair." Mira smiled. "You sound like someone who truly cares about people, not just machines." Raman felt a small blush on his cheeks. He returned to his work, but his hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the engine. He had never expected to feel such connection with someone so quickly, yet it seemed natural. Arav and Naina were home from school when Raman arrived later that afternoon. They were excited to see him working on a new project in the garage, and Raman decided it was the right time to tell them about Mira's visits. "Children, do you remember the nurse I helped a few days ago?" Raman asked. Arav nodded eagerly, and Naina tilted her head curiously. "Her name is Mira. She comes to the workshop sometimes for small repairs. She is very kind and she cares for people a lot." Arav's eyes widened. "Can we meet her again, Dad?" Raman smiled. "Yes, perhaps you will. She might come by soon." The children exchanged excited glances. They could sense that Mira was special, even if they did not yet fully understand why. Naina whispered softly, "I like her already." In the following days, Mira's visits became more frequent. Sometimes she came with small gifts for the children, a colorful notebook for Arav or a little storybook for Naina. Other times, she brought snacks or shared stories of her day. Raman noticed how his children's faces lit up when she was around, and he felt a growing admiration for her. One afternoon, as Raman and Mira worked together in the workshop fixing an old bike, they laughed over a small accident. The bike chain had slipped, and both of them bent awkwardly to fix it, knocking their heads lightly. They laughed heartily, a sound that made the workshop feel alive. For the first time in many months, Raman felt lighthearted. The laughter lingered, and even the children came to see what was happening. Mira looked at them and said softly, "Your children are very sweet. They remind me of why I became a nurse. Children make everything feel important." Raman felt a tug in his heart. He realized that Mira was beginning to be part of their lives naturally. Her kindness was not forced. It came from her heart. And his children were responding to that kindness, trusting her and enjoying her company. That evening, after Mira left, Raman sat on the porch with Arav and Naina. They talked about school, the small adventures of the day, and the laughter they had shared. Yet in the quiet moments, Raman thought about Mira. He wondered if she could be more than a friend, if she could one day bring warmth to their home in a deeper way. He did not speak of this yet, but the thought stayed with him. Raman realized that life was giving him hope again. He understood that happiness could arrive quietly, through small gestures, laughter, and care. And perhaps with Mira, that happiness could grow into something lasting. As the sun set over the town, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Raman promised himself silently. He would cherish this connection. He would protect it, nurture it, and see where it could lead. For the first time in a long while, he felt ready to welcome hope, ready to imagine a life where his children and he could smile freely every day. Raman noticed that life was slowly changing. Mira's visits had become a routine, and the children were beginning to feel more comfortable around her. Arav would run to the workshop to show her his school drawings, and Naina would shyly hold her hand while sharing little stories about her day. Rahman watched these moments with quiet happiness. He realized that Mira's presence was filling a space in their lives that had been empty for too long. One morning, Mira arrived at the workshop with a small basket. "I brought something for the children," she said softly. Rahman smiled and led her inside. Arav and Naina's eyes widened with excitement when they saw colorful fruits, some biscuits, and little toys neatly arranged in the basket. "Thank you, Mira," Arav said happily. Naina hugged her gently, whispering, "You are very kind." Rahman felt a warm feeling inside. He noticed the way his children were opening up, laughing more, and feeling cared for. Mira had a way of bringing joy without forcing it. She did not try to replace anyone, but her presence naturally made them feel safe and loved. After the children left for school, Rahman and Mira stayed behind in the workshop. They shared tea and spoke quietly about their day. Rahman talked about the challenges of running a workshop and raising children alone, while Mira spoke about her patience and the small victories that made her day meaningful. "You have a very strong heart, Rahman," Mira said gently. "Raising 2 children alone is not easy, but you do it with so much care. I admire that." Rahman looked at her and felt a mix of gratitude and admiration. "It is not easy," he admitted, "but seeing them happy makes it worth everything. And seeing someone like you care about them, it feels like hope has returned." Mira smiled, looking slightly shy. "I am happy to help. It is easy to care when you meet people who are kind, like your children and you." As the days went by, Rahman began noticing small signs that Mira was becoming more involved in their lives. She would bring healthy snacks for the children, help them with small homework tasks, or spend time listening to their stories. She also offered advice to Rahman quietly, suggesting ways to make the home more comfortable or organizing small fun activities for the children. One afternoon, Rahman watched Mira teach Naina to ride a small bike in the yard. Naina wobbled at first, but Mira held her hands patiently, encouraging her. Arav clapped and cheered, and Rahman felt a joy he had not felt in years. He realized that the house was slowly turning into a home filled with laughter, hope, and care. Rahman also noticed his own feelings growing deeper. He admired Mira's kindness, her patience, and the gentle way she treated his children. He began to imagine what life could be like if she became a permanent part of their lives. The thought brought both excitement and nervousness. He did not want to rush, but he could feel that something important was happening quietly, like a seed growing under the soil. One evening after the children had gone to bed, Rahman sat alone in the workshop. He looked at the tools, the small repairs he had finished that day, and then at the empty chair where Mira usually sat when she visited. He thought about her warmth, her laughter, and the way she made his children feel safe and loved. Rahman realized that he wanted more than just visits. He wanted Mira to be part of their lives in a deeper way. He wanted her to be someone his children could call their mother, someone he could share his life with, someone who could bring light into the quiet spaces of their home. At the same time, he respected her choices. He knew that love and care could not be forced. He had to be patient and gentle, just as she had been with him and his children. He decided that he would show her through his actions that their family could be a place of happiness, trust, and warmth. Over the next few days, Rahman began thinking about ways to make their home more welcoming. He cleaned the rooms carefully, repaired broken furniture, and organized small corners where the children could play or read. He wanted Mira to feel that this was a place where she could belong if she chose to. Meanwhile, Mira noticed the little changes too. She appreciated the effort Rahman was making for his children and for her. She felt touched that someone could think about her presence in such a thoughtful way. It made her begin to consider the possibility of being part of this family. Rahman knew that life was slowly moving towards something new, something meaningful. He could see happiness returning to his children, and he could feel hope growing in his own heart. He understood that love was not always about grand gestures, but about patience, care, and being present in each other's lives. That night, Rahman sat quietly by the window, watching the stars. He felt a calm assurance that the connection he was building with Mira and his children was real. He did not know what the future held, but he knew he wanted to keep trying. He wanted to build a life where his children could laugh freely, where Mira could feel at home, and where he could finally feel complete. For the first time in many years, Rahman allowed himself to imagine a future filled with warmth, love, and togetherness. It was a small hope, but it felt strong, and he knew that with care and patience it could grow into something beautiful. Days passed, and the bond between Raman, his children, and Mira grew stronger. The children had begun to count on her visits. Arav would run to the workshop with small drawings he had made for her, while Nina carefully carried little gifts she had made herself. Mira laughed gently at their excitement and always responded with patience and warmth. She had become a part of their daily lives, quietly and naturally. One evening, after a long day at the clinic, Mira stayed a little longer than usual. The children had gone to bed, and Raman and Mira sat together in the small living room. The soft light of the lamp filled the room with a warm glow. Silence lingered for a moment, but it was comfortable, not empty. Raman looked at Mira and took a deep breath. He had been thinking about this moment for many days. He wanted to speak honestly, to share the feelings he had kept inside. "Mira," he began carefully, "there is something I want to tell you. I have been thinking about this for a long time." Mira turned to him, her eyes calm and attentive. "What is it, Raman?" she asked softly. Raman looked down at his hands for a moment, then back at her. "I have been raising my children alone for many years. It has been hard, but they are my life. I love them more than anything, and I feel that they need someone to bring warmth and care into their lives, someone to be a mother to them. I feel that I need someone to share life with, someone to care for us all together." Mira listened quietly, her expression thoughtful. Raman continued, his voice steady but gentle. "I know this is sudden, and I am not asking for anything immediately. I only want to say that if you would allow it, I want you to be part of our lives. I want to build a home where you can belong, where my children can have love, and where we can all be happy together." There was a pause. Mira's eyes softened, and a small smile appeared on her face. She reached out and touched his hand lightly. "Raman, I did not expect this, but I feel the same way. Your children are wonderful, and you are kind and caring. I have enjoyed being around you all. I want to try and see how we can make this work." Raman felt a wave of relief and joy. He had spoken from his heart, and Mira had listened and responded with honesty. He knew that this was the beginning of something important, something real. Over the next few weeks, life began to change in small but meaningful ways. Raman worked on improving the home further. He repaired broken furniture, painted walls in bright colors, and arranged the rooms to be more comfortable. Mira helped with ideas, suggesting simple touches that made the space feel warm and welcoming. The children were delighted, running from room to room, imagining their future home. Raman also took time to strengthen his relationship with Mira. They shared meals, worked together on small projects, and took walks in the evening. They talked about their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. Each conversation brought them closer, not through grand gestures, but through quiet understanding and care. Arav and Naina noticed the changes as well. They began to call Mira by her first name without hesitation, and sometimes they called her Mom softly when no one was around. Raman smiled whenever he heard it, realizing that the children were slowly accepting Mira as part of their family. One afternoon, as the sun shone brightly over the small town, Raman, Mira, and the children sat in the yard. They planted small flowers together, laughing as the soil got on their hands. Arav carefully placed seeds in the soil, and Naina watered them gently. Mira guided them with patience, showing how to care for the plants. Raman watched, feeling a deep satisfaction. He knew that this home was not just a place with walls and a roof. It was a home full of life, love, and care. That evening, after the children went to bed, Raman and Mira sat quietly in the living room. The room smelled faintly of the flowers they had planted. Raman turned to Mira and said softly, "Thank you for trusting us. I promise to do everything I can to make this home happy for all of us." Mira smiled and squeezed his hand. "I trust you, Raman. I feel at home here. I want to see us all happy together." Raman felt a calm assurance settle in his heart. He realized that honesty, patience, and care had brought them to this moment. They had taken the first step toward building a life together, not just as friends, but as a family. After Raman and Mira had shared their feelings, life began to take on a new rhythm. The children sensed the change too, and their laughter filled the house more often. Raman had decided that it was time to take the next step, building a home where all of them could live together comfortably. He wanted it to be a place of warmth, love, and safety, not just a shelter. Raman spent the morning measuring the rooms, planning the layout carefully. He wanted every space to be practical yet welcoming. Mira joined him, carrying small notebooks with sketches and ideas. Together they discussed colors, furniture, and even where the children's toys and books would go. Mira suggested adding small touches that would make the home feel personal, like pictures on the walls and a small garden outside. Arav and Nina were excited when they learned about the project. Arav wanted a room where he could build model cars, while Nina dreamed of a quiet corner to read her storybooks. Raman smiled, realizing that this home would be for everyone, not just for adults. He wanted the children to feel that their opinions mattered. The construction began slowly. Raman worked during the day in the workshop and evenings at the house site, while Mira helped in small ways whenever she could. She chose colors for the walls, suggested ways to arrange furniture, and even helped the children plant flowers outside. The little garden soon became a favorite spot for Arav and Nina, who watered the plants and watched them grow with pride. One afternoon, as Raman carried heavy boxes into the new home, Mira called from the porch. "Raman, take a break. The children and I have a surprise for you." Raman wiped the sweat from his brow and went outside. He found Arav and Nina waiting with a small handmade banner that read, "We love our dad." Mira had helped them create it with bright colors and smiles. Raman's heart swelled. He knelt down and hugged both children tightly, feeling a deep sense of happiness. "This is perfect," Raman said, smiling at Mira. "Thank you for helping them. It means a lot," Mira smiled back. "We are building this home together. It belongs to all of us." As weeks passed, the home began to take shape. The walls were painted in cheerful colors, the furniture arranged just as they had planned, and every corner had a touch of care. Raman worked tirelessly, but he did not mind. Each nail he hammered, each board he polished, felt like a step closer to the life he had imagined for his family. Mira continued to visit regularly. She spent time teaching the children small things about life, helping them with homework and sharing stories from her clinic work. She was becoming more than a friend. She was becoming someone the children trusted deeply. Raman noticed how naturally they turned to her for advice, comfort, and laughter. One evening, as the sun set, Raman and Mira sat together in the half-finished garden. Arav and Nina were playing nearby, chasing each other around the small trees. Mira smiled as she watched them. "They are happy," she said softly. "And they have you to thank for that." Raman shook his head. "No, they have us all. You have helped more than you realize. This home is coming alive because of everyone's care, and especially yours. I feel it in every corner, in every little detail." Mira reached for his hand, holding it gently. "I am glad. I feel happy too. I never thought I could feel this way about someone else's family. But now it feels natural. It feels right." Raman looked at her and realized how much her words meant. It was more than kindness. It was a shared understanding of what family could be. He knew that with Mira they could create a home where love and care were the foundation, not just walls and furniture. The children came running to them, holding small stones and flowers they had collected. "Look, Dad. Look, Mira," they shouted together. Raman laughed and helped them place the stones in a small pattern along the garden path. Nina carefully arranged the flowers, and Arav showed how he had lined the stones neatly. Raman felt a deep contentment. This was more than just building a house. It was about building a life, one filled with care, laughter, and hope. Every brick, every corner, every flower in the garden was a symbol of the family they were becoming. As night fell, Raman looked at the home with pride. It was not finished yet, but it was already a place of warmth and life. He knew that challenges would come, but with Mira and the children, they could face anything. He also knew that this home would hold more than just memories. It would hold the promise of a happy future. Raman realized that he had kept his first promise quietly, to his children and to himself. He was building a home, and in that home he hoped Mira would one day become the heart of their family, giving his children the love and care of a mother. And for the first time in many years he felt that everything was possible. Life in the small town had begun to feel brighter for Raman, Mira, and the children. The new home was slowly coming together, but it was not just the walls and furniture that made it feel alive. It was the laughter of Arav and Nina, the quiet talks with Mira, and the simple moments of shared care that filled every corner. Raman noticed that even small tasks had become more enjoyable with Mira around. While he fixed engines in the workshop, she would bring small snacks for him and the children. Sometimes she would help him sort tools or clean up, laughing softly when something spilled or slipped. Her presence made the hard work lighter, and Raman began to feel that he was not alone anymore. The children had started to adjust to the new rhythm of life as well. Arav would talk about his school projects excitedly, often showing Mira the drawings he had made. Naina loved to read stories aloud to her, and Mira would listen carefully, praising her efforts and encouraging her gently. These small interactions created a bond that felt natural and comforting. One afternoon, Raman faced a particularly difficult repair at the workshop. An old engine had broken down completely, and despite his experience, it refused to work. Frustrated, he stepped outside and sat on a small bench, wiping sweat from his forehead. Mira noticed him immediately and came over with a glass of water. "Raman, take a breath. Sometimes the solution comes when you are calm," she said softly, handing him the glass. Raman smiled, feeling the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. "Thank you, Mira. I guess I needed a little reminder," she nodded. "It is easier to solve problems when you have someone beside you, not just with machines but with life too." Raman felt a quiet warmth in his heart. Her words were simple, yet they carried truth and care. He realized how much he had come to rely on her presence, not because he needed help, but because life felt lighter and more hopeful when she was around. The next few days were filled with small moments that made the family feel closer. Raman taught Arav how to fix a small bike engine while Mira watched, cheering him on. Naina helped Mira plant flowers in the garden, learning to water them carefully and take care of each plant. Raman noticed how natural it felt to have Mira guiding his children, teaching them patience and care. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Raman, Mira, and the children sat together in the yard. Arav and Naina had brought small boards to paint, and Mira helped them mix colors. Raman watched quietly, smiling at the scene. For the first time in years, he felt complete. "I like this place," Mira said softly. "It is not just a house. It feels alive because of all of you." "It feels like home," Raman nodded. "That is exactly what I hoped for. A home full of laughter, care, and togetherness. It is not perfect yet, but it is ours." Arav and Naina ran up to them, showing the painted boards. "Look, Dad. Look, Mira," they shouted together. The boards were bright and messy, but full of life. Raman laughed and hugged them both, feeling joy in his heart. Days continued with their small routines. Raman worked in the workshop. Mira visited the clinic and still helped at home whenever she could, and the children grew more confident and happy. Life was not without challenges, but they faced each day together. When problems arose, whether it was a broken appliance or a disagreement between the children, Raman and Mira worked together calmly, teaching patience, understanding, and teamwork. One evening, as Raman prepared dinner, Mira helped set the table. Arav and Naina were laughing while finishing their homework. Raman looked around and felt a quiet pride. This was more than he had dreamed of. He had promised his children a mother, and Mira was becoming that naturally. He had promised himself that he would build a home, and now it was filled with life, love, and warmth. That night, after the children went to bed, Raman and Mira sat quietly in the living room. The soft glow of the lamp highlighted the small decorations they had placed together. Raman reached for Mira's hand, holding it gently. "I never thought life could feel this full again," Raman said quietly. "You have brought so much light into our lives, Mira. I am grateful for you every day." Mira smiled, squeezing his hand. "And I am grateful for you, Raman. Your children, your care, your honesty. It makes me want to be part of this life. It feels right being here with you all." Raman nodded, feeling a deep contentment. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but he also knew that together they could face anything. Their home was becoming more than just walls. It was becoming a place of love, trust, and hope. As the night grew quiet, Raman looked at the stars outside the window. For the first time in a long while, he felt calm, happy, and ready for the future. He had a family. The little house was finally beginning to feel like home. The walls were painted in cheerful colors, the furniture was arranged just right, and the garden outside bloomed with flowers and small plants. But what made it truly alive was the laughter, love, and care that filled every corner. Raman could see it in the eyes of his children and in Mira's gentle smiles. Arav and Naina had grown more confident and happy. They would run to the workshop to show Raman the small tasks they had completed, or to tell Mira about their school day. Nina loved reading stories aloud to Mira, while Arav proudly demonstrated little machines he had fixed under Raman's guidance. Mira always encouraged them, praising their efforts and teaching them patience and attention to detail. One bright morning, Raman decided to spend the day with the children and Mira in the garden. He wanted to make the place even more beautiful and inviting. Mira suggested planting a small vegetable patch along one side, so the children could learn about growing food. Arav and Nina were excited and helped dig small holes in the soil. Raman guided them, showing them how to plant seeds gently and water them carefully. "This will be our special garden," Raman said, smiling. "We can watch it grow together and take care of it as a family." The children laughed and ran around, watering plants and arranging small stones along the paths. Mira helped them with patience and encouragement, showing them how to care for each plant and giving them tips to make the garden flourish. Raman watched, feeling a deep joy in his heart. He realized that this small family was becoming closer with each passing day. Later that evening, after finishing their work in the garden, they all sat together on the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. Arav and Nina rested against Raman and Mira, tired but happy. "Dad, this is the best home ever," Arav said softly. Naina nodded, holding Mira's hand. "Yes, it is perfect because we are together." Raman felt a quiet pride. He looked at Mira and saw a gentle smile on her face. "You have made all of this possible, Mira," he said. "Not just the home, but the happiness inside it. You have brought warmth and love into our lives." Mira shook her head gently. "It was never just me. We did this together. And your children, they are wonderful. Being with all of you makes me feel at home too." That night, after the children went to bed, Raman and Mira sat together in the living room. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of the night wind outside. Raman reached for Mira's hand and held it gently. "I never thought I could feel this happy again," Raman said softly. "You have brought life into our home, and I am grateful for you every day. I promise to keep this home filled with love, care, and happiness for all of us." Mira smiled warmly. "And I promise to stay, to help, and to be part of this family. I never imagined that I could feel this connected to someone else's life, but with you and the children, it feels natural and right." The next morning, life continued with its quiet joys. Raman worked in the workshop, repairing cars and machines, while Mira visited the clinic and helped at home whenever she could. The children played outside, learned new things, and shared small moments of laughter with both Raman and Mira. Each day was filled with tiny but meaningful experiences that made the home feel complete. One afternoon, Raman and Mira decided to bake something with the children. They made simple bread and decorated it with jam and fruit. The kitchen was filled with laughter, flour on little hands, and the delicious smell of freshly baked bread. Arav and Nina proudly presented their creations, and Raman praised their effort. Mira hugged them gently and said, "You both did an amazing job. This home is filled with love because of all of us together." Raman felt a deep contentment. He realized that happiness was not in grand gestures but in these quiet, shared moments. Watching his children laugh, seeing Mira's caring presence, and feeling the warmth of their family together made his heart full. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Raman and Mira stood in the garden looking at the little vegetable patch and the flowers blooming around them. "Look at what we have built," Raman said softly. "Not just a home, but a family. Life is finally beginning to feel complete." Mira smiled, leaning slightly on his shoulder. "Yes, it is. And this is just the beginning. Together, we will make it even better, full of love and happiness for all of us." Raman nodded, feeling a sense of calm and hope that he had not felt in years. The lonely days were behind him. Now, his children had a mother, he had a partner, and their home was alive with love. They had built more than a house. They had built a family, a life full of joy, care, and togetherness. The little house was now complete. Every corner reflected care and attention, and every room was filled with warmth. But more importantly, the home was alive with laughter, love, and life. Raman looked around and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The lonely days of the past seemed far away. His children had a mother, and he had Mira by his side. Together, they had built a life worth living. Arav and Naina ran around the garden, watering the flowers and checking on the vegetables they had planted. Mira joined them, helping with gentle hands and encouraging words. The children laughed, their voices echoing through the yard, while Raman watched quietly, smiling at the joy in their faces. He realized that happiness was no longer a distant dream. It was present in these small, shared moments. One morning, as the sun shone brightly, Raman decided to take a break from the workshop and spend the day with his new family. They planned simple activities, reading books, planting new flowers, and enjoying tea together on the porch. Every action, no matter how small, was filled with love. "Dad, look at these flowers," Naina exclaimed, pointing to the blooms in the garden. "They are beautiful," Raman said, kneeling beside her. "Just like you." Mira smiled softly, watching the interaction. "They are growing so fast. It feels wonderful to see them happy." Raman nodded. "Yes, and it feels even better to see them with someone like you. You have brought so much warmth into our home, Mira." She shook her head gently. "I feel the same, Raman. You and the children have made me feel at home. I never thought I could belong to a family, but now I do." The afternoon passed with laughter and quiet conversation. Arav and Naina helped prepare simple snacks under Mira's guidance. Raman joined them, sharing stories from his workshop and teaching the children small lessons about life. Every moment strengthened the bond between them. It was not just about love, but about trust, care, and understanding. Later, as the day began to fade, they all gathered in the living room. Raman sat between Mira and the children, holding their hands gently. "I want you all to know how happy I am," he said quietly. "We have built something wonderful together, and it is only the beginning. Our home is full of love because of each of you. I promise to take care of this happiness. Always." Mira leaned her head slightly on his shoulder. "And I promise to be here, to help and to love this family as much as I can. This home is our life, and I will always do my best to make it joyful." The children smiled, feeling the warmth and care surrounding them. They were no longer lonely or uncertain. They had a mother to guide them, a father who loved them deeply, and a home where they felt safe and cherished. As the night fell, the family went out to the garden one last time before bedtime. The stars shone brightly above, and the gentle night breeze carried the scent of flowers and fresh soil. Arav and Naina lay on the grass, pointing at constellations and making up stories about the stars. Mira laughed softly at their imagination, while Raman held her hand, feeling a profound sense of peace. "This is perfect," Raman said quietly. "We have everything we need: love, care, laughter, and hope. Our family is complete." Mira smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Yes, it is complete, and it will keep growing, just like these stars in the sky." In the following days, life continued with the same quiet joy. Raman worked in his workshop, Mira balanced her duties at the clinic and home, and the children thrived in the warmth of their loving family. The house was no longer just a building. It was a symbol of their promises, their efforts, and their shared love. Raman often sat on the porch in the evening, looking at the home they had built together. The laughter of his children, the gentle presence of Mira, and the quiet beauty of the garden reminded him of how far they had come. He had kept his promise to his children and to himself. He had built a home full of care, and in it they had all found happiness. As he watched Arav and Naina run around with Mira, Raman felt a deep satisfaction. Life had taught him patience, hope, and the importance of caring for one another. The lonely mechanic of the past had found his family, and he knew that the love they shared would only grow stronger with time. That night, as they all went to bed, Raman felt a quiet peace in his heart. His home was complete, not just with walls and furniture, but with laughter, trust, and love. He had found a partner in Mira, and his children had found a mother. Together, they had created a life full of warmth, joy, and togetherness. Raman closed his eyes, feeling grateful for the journey that had brought them together. He knew that the future would have challenges, but with love guiding them, every obstacle would become easier to face. Their home was more than just a promise kept. It was a life beautifully lived.